Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Bryant Reed. Trump was grazed and bleeding from his ear following the shooting. He is recovering tonight. The suspected gunman, as well as a person attending the event, were killed. Right now, we start with breaking news. A shooting involving a police officer is under investigation on the shoreline tonight. There are no fire hydrants in the area. This is a very remote area here in Old Saybrook, so they were using water from the surrounding areas and from the wetlands to make sure that they had enough to put on the flames that this house was producing. These 8 steps are supposed to lead to a grassy backyard, and the water from the pond isn't supposed to start until another 30 feet that way. But instead, residents are dealing with 4 feet of water in their basements for the past 40 years. Well, we aren't too familiar with this in Connecticut. I'm sure many of you at home felt it. That 4.8 magnitude earthquake this morning, and even the aftershock earlier this evening. I want to show you that tree on that home. Take a walk with me really fast and look up on the roof right here. You can see that the tree actually fell across 2 different homes. What you're about to see are the frantic moments that played out at the home right behind me here on 2 Blake Street after a man says that he intentionally set fire to the home so he could be rescued after being held captive and on the brink of starvation. Now, there are a few areas that have declared a state of emergency tonight. We've seen the extensive damage that Amanda was just talking about. So what are you able to tell us about how the state is responding to so much disaster? What you're seeing is being picked up by our traffic cameras. This is a crash that has caused part of Route 9 to close. You can see by the fire engine there that one car looks like it's flipped on its side. We do see first responders. Looks like they're working on the front end of that car. We don't know right now if there is somebody inside. These are the big snowplow trucks you'll see tomorrow morning in your area and in your neighborhoods. Not only will they be snow plowing the snow off of the roads, but they'll also be putting down this mixture of sand and salt. And this is actually according to arrest documents where the FBI believes was the main hub of the drug operation. Scott, before we break things down, I'm taking a look at our First Alert Live radar here, and you can see a few flakes, as a matter of fact, coming in from surrounding states heading towards our area. So go ahead and break it down for us. Top Democrats have called for President Biden to drop out of the race. He has been at his home in Delaware recovering from COVID, as we all know, as he released the statement this afternoon. So how big of a decision is this that comes after the primary and just a month before the Democratic National Convention? How about this? Baby's first Christmas. This is Mila, and she is with Santa. How cute is she? Let's go on one more and head to Ellington as we get a look at Debbie's tree. Debbie, this is one of the most decked out trees I have seen, so kudos to you with one little gift under there. If you would take a walk with me real quick, we'll retrace police's steps. This is an area that they were really focusing on, 408 Sigourney Street. And as a matter of fact, around 3 o'clock, this is where they say a couple of people got into a fight. Running up and down the court, working on your skills is the immediate impact kids like Anthony will see as they work to get to the next level. But there's also a mutual understanding that being in a program like this is about more than just hoops. New tonight at 5, a story you will only see on Channel 3. 2 abandoned and severely injured dogs were found on the side of the road this morning in Hartford.
I know there's a couple of guys that are pretty happy about that.
Yeah. He's happy about it. He's a grad.
Can you try that again? I am.
Dude,
but try this again. Let me see. There we go. Look at that.
Just a little trick.
It's pretty.
We're also following breaking news out of Windsor tonight. An investigation is underway after Amtrak has confirmed a person was struck by a train. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Mike Cerullo is on the scene tonight. Mike, we know you just got there, but what have you learned so far? Electric Blue has been watched closely over the years, and Thursday morning, Homeland Security and state police swarmed the building, forcing the club to close their doors before they even opened for the day. And it was actually around that time here in Lewiston where we were doing work, but saw police flying through the streets with their sirens on, heading to a scene.
Well, if you're sick of swiping on dating apps, you're not alone. Yeah,
many singles around the U.S. are breaking up with the apps because they're frustrated by endless swiping with few results. And as we were getting pushed back and as officers were roping off the area, one of the officers said, we may lose an officer tonight. When it comes to Juneteenth and celebrating African-American culture, how do you really try to emulate that in your artwork, in your music? Hey, from one downpour to another, the madness began today for the UConn women as the Huskies started their march through the NCAA tournament. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Channel 3 sports anchor, Nkwa Sonia. All right, thanks, Nkwa. Hey, Quinnipiac, UConn, both teams getting hot at the same time, just like today's weather. You like that, right?
Hey. Please hurry. It's 2 Blake Street. There's a fire.
Okay.
Oh, my God. There's a fire. I'm trying to...
Frantic moments from Kimberly Sullivan on the phone with 911 as her home catches flames.
My son, stepson is in his room, and I don't know, he did something with the TV. I was sleeping. I fell asleep.
Woken up by the fire, her stepson started using printing paper and hand sanitizer. He's also her alleged victim. Police say Sullivan kept him locked away in a room under horrific conditions for 20 years with little food and water. On the 911 call, Sullivan says her stepson is injured, and when first responders arrive, she tells them he's still inside.
Who else is in here?
My stepson is in here.
How many other people?
Police escort her away from the scene as we see her stepson, blurred in the video, being carried out of the home, his body frail and limp.
Got one victim right here.
And put in the back of an ambulance. A Waterbury detective spoke with the CT Insider on this anomaly of a case and just how bad the victim's condition was.
As bad as the victim looked in that interview, seeing him in person it felt 10 times as worse. You know, I don't want to really put a number on it, but it took everybody off guard.
Detective Stephen Brownell says the victim thanked first responders repeatedly for saving his life.
He's recovering. He's slowly recovering, but recovering nonetheless.
Just 12 years after the murder of Angel Gonzalez in Bridgeport, and his family is now reliving their fears.
We got blindsided. We got hit with a big one.
Tyree Smith was supposed to serve 60 years in a psychiatric hospital after being found guilty by reason of insanity. He is Gonzalez's alleged killer, who also ate pieces of his brain and eye, but was granted a conditional release by a psychiatric review board last Friday. His sister-in-law speaks for the family and says they did everything they could to prevent that moment.
I called Whiting 5 years straight. Sometimes twice a month, 3 times a month. If I got that feeling or thought I saw somebody that looked like him, I would call Whiting just to make sure was he still there.
But Talitha says a secretary told her to stop calling because Smith, who was in the hospital due to the insanity plea, wasn't going anywhere. Years later, she was sitting in the room as doctors said Smith was a joy to be around, and while on medication, had no longer been hearing the same voices in his head that told him to kill Gonzalez.
And I truly believe the voices in his head he is hearing are literally probably telling him, tell the doctors you don't hear us so you can get out. And we feel like he beat the system.
Several lawmakers also feel like Tyree Smith beat the system. Representative Devin Carney proposed legislation before Smith's review, knowing it was coming up, in hopes of changing how review boards make their decision.
It basically extends the timeline for when someone can request a conditional release or a temporary release. But one of the most important parts of it is it requires the board to make public safety the first component of their decision.
Now, Talitha says the family plans to get a restraining order so it will help them sleep at night. She says even if down the road Smith offered their family an apology, it will never bring back their loved one or repair the damage he has done.
It's not fair. He gets to be in contact with his son, reunite with his son. He now gets to talk to his dad. Well, I don't get to talk to my brother-in-law. So sorry, I don't want his apologies. He'd have to talk to God about that.
Connecticut's 29th Regiment, the state's first all-colored Civil War unit to help fight against the Confederacy after being freed from slavery. At the site where more than 900 people used to train at Criscolo Park in New Haven, now lies a memorial with names etched in stone. Kelly Miro is a sixth-generation descendant of Joseph Sills, who was a member of the 29th.
Oh, there's Sills. There he is, Joseph Sills. See it?
Her dad, Harrison, found the relation when he was doing a genealogy search.
He uncovered that he was also African American, got excited, dug a little deeper, and then started to find that some of his Native American ancestors and some of his black ancestors were members of the CT-29 Colored Regiment.
Connecticut history shows the 29th marched from Connecticut to Virginia, then finally landing in Texas in April of 1865 to report for duty one last time. This means on June 19th, now known as Juneteenth, when Union troops landed in Galveston, Texas to spread the word of the Emancipation Proclamation, Miro's ancestor, Joseph Sills, was also in the state on his last assignment.
Feeling really connected to their work, knowing that like they were there, right? Somebody who shares my blood. So
Kelly says her dad, who died in 2015, was also proud of his connection to that historic moment.
My father is wearing a uniform that is a replica of what the members of the CT-29 Colored Regiment actually wore.
He walked in parades and taught about the history in schools. Now, Kelly says she bears the torch. She and other descendants have been putting on Juneteenth celebrations for 8 years now.
We celebrate, right, being black and brown through food, drink, and dance, and it really is a special time.